There we are. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. It's me, Kevin Lee. I want to welcome all these beautiful people to my podcast. This is Live with Kevin Lee, and we're streaming from downtown Fort Lauderdale. And you're listening to the podcast Live with Kevin Lee that I put together and share almost on a weekly basis. And this show brings you access to leaders, to luminaries, and really to life lessons that help you up-level existence, really. And it helps you find fulfillment really in serving others. And today I wanted to bring on the show and to introduce to you and share with you a good friend of mine and a business colleague, Danita Sajous. And let me just share a little bit about her with you today. She is 100% committed to her time on this planet to help humanity really live lives of fun and freedom and fabulousness, right? She spent over 10 years honing her craft as a neuro-transformational coach, a hypnotherapist, speaker, and retreat facilitator. And she has taught and trained and impacted thousands of individuals and clients around the globe. She's co-created with some of the top renowned coaches on the planet, all in the field of personal development. And today I would like to welcome you to the show, Danita Sajous. Thank you.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, friends out there. Thank you for having me. This is such an honor.
I appreciate you making time in your busy schedule just to come and share your light in my garden. And I wanted to just kind of bring you to share you because I know that the work that you do makes a difference in the world. And that's the type of people that I like to have on my show. People who care about humanity, people who come from a place of the heart. I'm all about compassion in my speaking. And you know you're safe with me when I'm in the room because I want people to understand that you matter, that I see you, that I hear you, and I get that same vibe from you. So you were definitely one of my picks to come and shine your light.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Kevin. I'm honored to be here.
You're absolutely welcome. Well, let's go ahead and jump in. I'd like to find out a little more about you. Where did you grow up? And tell us a little bit about who you are currently in the world.
Yeah, so I am a chick from New York City.
I love it.
I'm born and raised in Manhattan my entire life. People wonder, did I have a playground? Yes, I did. But as you know, Manhattan is vertical. So I grew up in a very, very busy city, and it was all I knew.
Wow.
I'm a daughter of an immigrant from Haiti, my father. And then my mother is also, she was from the South, but a little bit of a cocktail sweet. I've got German in me and Scottish in me and Haitian. So I speak a few languages, which is so exciting. I speak French and Haitian Creole.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah, so
French is
that's a little bit about me. I'm the youngest of 3 girls.
Oh, wow. I love that. But
Yeah.
You're the youngest of 3, right?
I'm the youngest of 3.
Baby of the family. I love that. Well,
right. And so what I do in the world now really shocks me because I've been in had a lot of hats during my life and started in finance. I don't like banking. And then I developed product for Crate and Barrel. So that was home fashion, which is still a big passion of mine. And I've been a Sunday school teacher, all kinds of delicious things, but I fell into the personal development world just trying to figure out my own journey. I went in for business, but realized there was some internal conflict going on and wanted to unlearn what I saw and what was put on me and the beliefs I created. And so when I had my huge breakthrough, mine was around my dad and wanting him to be proud of me, which he was, but I made up some silly story. And so when I got my breakthrough there, then I said,
Maybe
I can help others have their breakthrough.
That's huge.
Yeah.
The fact that you were willing to open that closet door, if you will, and to peer inside and to begin to pull away the cobwebs of the programming that we all have mom and dad and brother and sister issues and ex-lovers and life in general. And the fact that you were willing, you could sense there was something off and you were willing to dig in, that just speaks volumes. And if you're willing to do it for yourself, I can imagine, and I know you do it for others. And it's probably a love for you.
It is a love for me, Kevin, and I'm still in it.
I love that.
I'm still figuring out who this chick is every day, 24/7. And in that journey, I'm able to help others in their breakthroughs, which is so delicious.
Tell us a little bit about your current your practice now. What do you do for others?
Yeah, so I am a rapid transformational therapist, hypnotherapist. I am also a trainer. It's under Marissa Peer from London. And so I tap into the subconscious mind that has been locked up after age 7. And it's where all our habits and our conversation comes from. And so I unlock that to go back and heal whatever conflict that we may have had along the human journey. I call it magical. I think we underuse our brain, our subconscious mind. And so having someone in trance is just like meditation, but we're accessing and coaching in that space. Wow. And then I create a recording for them, which reprograms the brain at the cellular level, because the subconscious mind learns by repetition. And so my clients range from anywhere from 7 years old to 67.
Wow.
And I help people get their life back. And the laundry list, especially for children, has been heartbreaking for me.
Sure.
Because of cyberbullying and the pandemic. And so there's a lot of anxiety amongst our young ones. And so to help them see themselves, use their voice and break away has been delicious. I'm also a life coach. So I use hypnotherapy as one of my tools, but then I can coach on the surface of tangible things as well.
Wow. So people work with you in a way that they can go back into that internal programming, the issues they might have with life or family or their body or whatever their issue is. And so you work with them to enter an altered state, and then to begin, are they identifying the things that challenge them or torment them mentally? Is that how it works?
Yes. So they go back to certain scenes, and the subconscious mind knows. So the subconscious mind is extremely suggestible. So you can command it to go back to the root of the issue that they're having.
Wow.
And it'll pop up scenes in their mind. And then, is it daytime or nighttime? Are you inside or outside? To picture the scene and what are you feeling? The feelings are what's really important, because the feelings create thoughts, create reality. So it's really important to tap into the feelings. And we're not reliving anything. We're just reviewing to learn from it, and then to eradicate and smash it.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never heard it put that way. I like that you said we're not reliving it, which could probably be very threatening to people, but we're reviewing it. It's almost an observer effect with a sense of tapping into potential emotions that could be there, but even for changing them. That's interesting.
Yeah, because I think the fear in a lot of people is, what if I open up this Pandora's box? Can I close it? And so sometimes, depending on the scene that comes up, they're looking at it from a TV screen.
Wow.
So they remove themselves, and then let's just review.
Wow.
So yeah, it's magic.
It's interesting because you mentioned the work that you do is on a subconscious level. Is that right? Is that what you said?
Correct.
So I'm going to tell you real quickly and briefly, many years ago when I was in Manhattan, I had brought from Texas probably a 12-year-old cat, a male cat that was very close and very bonded with me. And once we got to New York City, the cat began acting very different. The journey wasn't pleasant, personality changed. And I hired a very renowned National Geographic feline coach, a therapist in New York City, and a lady. And she came and she began this process where she recorded her and I dialoguing, and she had some special sound effects playing on her little boombox that she brought. And she said, "Oh, your cat will change because of this. You're going to notice these behaviors in your cat." I thought, I can't believe I paid this lady all this money. This is so bizarre. And let me tell you, when she finished with the session and I had to put the exercise into practice once she was gone and I had to step out of the apartment, I noticed when I came back, the cat was demonstrating exactly what she said, which was he would be right by the speakers and he would be incredibly calm and not freaked out. And that's exactly what happened. And it was all subconscious. He couldn't understand us, but it was what she understood about the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Even with the feline, the cat species. And I just thought that was amazing.
It is pretty amazing, Kevin. And we only use 10% of our brain here on Earth. The other 90% is locked up in the subconscious mind. And that's really where everything was created by age 7. So 80% of it. So.
And so the events or the programs that you do, in other words, if you would share with us maybe the name or two of the programs, the events that you put on, and what do they do with people? How do you support that audience or that community?
In terms of programs with hypnotherapy?
Mm-hmm. Like, are you able to work in a hypnotherapy capacity with audiences? Or
yeah, I haven't tried one-to-many yet because I think you can do one-to-many, but you can't. It's difficult to tap their details of their story. So you can kind of generalize it and get some effect, but I think the individual details is what's key. So the one-to-many hypnotherapy could be empowering, it could be, but we don't go down into scenes of the details because there's too many people.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, you can do one-to-many on money beliefs, a little bit more surface stuff. But to get into the root cause of different behaviors or events or forgiveness or guilt and shame, it might take a little bit more individual one-on-one details.
It makes a lot of sense. When we think about being in a public setting, we usually have our guards up and we're on our best behavior and we don't want people to see our this ugly cry, especially. So I can imagine them holding back in a larger audience setting. So it does make sense. Yeah. In a private coaching session, you can kind of let your guard down and share a whole lot more safely.
Yeah, I have a recent client that has listened to recordings of hypnotherapy, but still is a little stuck. And I said, we need to unlearn some of your details. Wow. And so she hired me and doing great. Yeah.
Oh, fascinating. And then with your programming, let me ask you this. How does it, or is there a difference between pre-recorded session in the sense of maybe you've created an exercise that's strictly audio-based or versus coming in and doing work with you one-on-one? Is there a difference between the two?
Yes, because the pre-recorded will be more just like the one-to-many, be more generalized without the details of the scenes that you go back to. So, but yeah, they're both effective, but I think the individual with the individual details goes back to the root cause.
Wow, love that. And then in the career that being a hypnotherapist and a neuro-linguistic practitioner, tell me, has there been a challenging experience for you that really moved you either in a mental way or academically forward? Is there something that really stands out in your career?
Yeah, so my passion is children, Kevin. And I didn't know how I was going to work with children. I've been a Sunday school teacher, that's great, but I'm actually helping adults with childhood issues, basically at the root. And I had a woman who I was coaching, and her son came up in every conversation. She was struggling with him. And by the age of 3 years old, he was just angry. He was angry at the world. He would kick the dog, spit at mom, and get kicked out of Sunday summer camp every year. And he would run out of the house screaming bloody murder, just unmanageable.
Sure.
And God put on my heart, help this little boy. And so we did, he met me. I asked him what his favorite cereal was, just a little connection. And his desire, I said, what do you want? And he goes, I just want to be a good boy.
Oh.
And so we did a hypnotherapy session. And in the midst of that, they also did run some tests on him. And he was, he had a super brain, which is his brain was functioning way faster than his age. So he would get bored quickly,
yes,
and things like that. And I think the highlight for me, Kevin, he's my target audience, I feel like. But at the end, he did a video for me, and he said, "Hi, Miss Danita." He says, "Thank you for allowing me to be a good boy." So he's able to stay in summer camp. He no longer kicks his dog, who's his best friend, and hit his mom. Like, the whole thing changed. And then there was additional information of what was going on, because he didn't know.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that was a very touching, powerful, that I can help individual 7-year-olds are very, and what the thing about children is they process quicker. To say that their issues are less, but they've seen less in life.
Wow.
And so their processing conversion is very, very quick. When
you say it's quick, is it because also they don't have a lot of that I don't know what else it's called, but it's the programming of you're not a good boy, you're not smart, and maybe there hasn't been so much of that built up, so they just take your words or your guidance as a new program and minimize.
So do adults. So we're able to fix that, the self-sabotage and all of the negative self-talk, and because there's a customized recording that's created after the session, where it starts to reprogram and the mind starts to do its magic. Automatically. It's crazy. And people say, "Can you help me?" I go, "I can't help you, but your brain can. I'll just be your guide." How's that?
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, it is incredible. You don't have to have the answers. They have all the answers, but we created all these limiting beliefs very early on, and we just get in our own way. It's just the human journey. Nothing wrong with it. Just we need a third party to help us through it.
Wow, that really is. And just the fact that young man, his life was really transformed in a profound way. It had to have fueled you, truly added gasoline to the fire of what you love to do, because to make that big of a change, to help support that young boy to change his life, if I were in your shoes, I think it would have just, it would have just amazed me, and I would have poured myself even harder into the work.
Yes, and it's really delicious, because if we can catch them early, they won't be so, and I say use this word, jacked up.
Sure.
Journey later, right?
It's
holding on to all of this,
wow,
all of these things, and we can clean it up quicker, and then things will happen throughout the years, but the cleanup, and they didn't have this stuff when I was younger.
Can you imagine if they instead of maybe a certain program in middle school, or actually younger, even in elementary school or middle school or high school, and they were able to have just 30 minutes a week with a specialized practitioner who could get them to dialogue and think this way, and you'd literally be changing the legacy of generations just by that little mindset shift.
Yeah, and I think the human 7-year-old or 67, they want to feel safe. They want to be heard, and they want a space where they can give oxygen to their emotions, meaning voice their emotions. whether it's a parent or whatever. We know that we respect our parents, but let's get the emotions out of how you feel. Doesn't make anything right or wrong, but let's just start to, I call it deflate the beach balls of emotions, because that is really what helps with health and wellness and peace of mind.
It makes sense though, because when we cry, like especially when we have an ugly cry, and right after that, there's just this momentary deep breath, and then you're like, I got all that out, and now it's like, okay, I'm going to fill myself back up, and you actually feel better once you have spent that time letting it out, or cried it out, as they say. But I think you really do. It's a type of pain. The pain is a poison.
The emotions sometimes are, and thank you for saying that, because I feel like especially men in our society are taught not to cry. They're coddled till age 3, and then it's like, be a man up, be a soldier, don't cry. And so there's all these bottled up emotions because society views it as weak, and so men are my favorite because they need a safe space and they have equal emotions as women. They just don't have an outlet very often to release it.
That's so true.
And so it could become physical.
Wow.
They release their emotions. So yelling, or not everybody, but
or pouring themselves into a bottle, bottle of booze, or that's just a way to suppress the pain or to numb themselves with pills or all the other addictive behaviors. So that's really a good point. But definitely for myself, I was growing up in a Texas environment. I was not super masculine. I was very less than masculine, and just a awkward little string bean of a kid. And I couldn't throw a ball. I was a brainy kid, so I could sit and read and get things done, but I couldn't physically do a lot of things. And so definitely I tended to cry more, and was constantly yelled at. So I was trying to suppress that growing up, and I'm sure it did its own programming.
That's one of the core root issues, is feeling different. And when we feel different, we don't feel connected. And when we don't feel connected, we feel alone. And it could be through brilliance, through hair texture, through looking like someone else. So one of the core roots is I'm different.
Wow. That's very interesting. That's literally those are all the words that I said as a young man growing up, because my hair didn't look the same as my family's. My face didn't really look the same. My thoughts were totally different, 180 degrees different from the rest of my family. Because I found value and joy in meeting people of all races, and that was not acceptable where I grew up. And speaking other languages, not allowed, not acceptable. And visiting other religions outside of our own was unacceptable. And I was curious about everyone and everything, and so I felt literally so different, to the extent that at dinner one night I asked if I was adopted, and they were horrified. But it was because I felt so much like this little unicorn in a group of sheep, or just another species. And I knew that I just needed to get out there and get into the world. And I had to really fight for myself. That's all I could do. I didn't feel I had people fighting for me.
It's a big one. It's a big one. Because then connection is lost.
Right. It sure
understanding.
Was.
I feel different.
Wow. And so tell me, have you worked on a book in the last several years? Do you have anything?
Oh my God. So I always say I'll never write a book. I was tutored as a kid for reading comprehension. So I'm not a big reader. I'm an audio video girl. And so I said, no, I would never write a book. What would I possibly write about? And then we had a group of women we did a retreat with, and the Dynamic Women's Retreat, and they all got together and did an anthology where you do a little short story. Oh my God, Kevin,
Beautiful.
There was so much resistance I wouldn't return her calls. She was like, you have to be in it. And I was like, okay, what should I talk about? So we figured out what I was going to talk about. But then I feel like the second grader that really doesn't read well, forget about writing. And so I learned some speaking techniques like show me, so I wrote it, and then she sent it to the editor, and then I just resistance, like months, resistance. And then I edited it, and then I let it go. So now it's being launched on Monday. There's still resistance. Wait a minute. I haven't even advertised about it. When we give my handles, I'll promise I'll have something up.
Good.
So you can join our book launch on Monday.
Good. I think that's fantastic. I've been there. There's a book about 12, 15 feet that away. It's chapters on a shelf that has been there probably for 10 years. And I don't know what it is, something unconscious.
Very interesting process.
Because I have 2 other books I've published. And for some reason, this one, I just can't, it's like walking through mud or quicksand. And it makes me think the universe doesn't need me publishing it. It's not my time for that. And to stay focused on other things. That's what it almost feels like, because it feels something's holding me back with it. But we'll see where that goes. So
just
I totally
not now.
Not now, in divine time. And I definitely listen to Spirit.
Delayed, but not denied.
Right. I'm excited. Well, can you share the title yet?
Yes, it's you know what? It's wait, I'm gonna get the title. You're gonna laugh at me because you're gonna say you don't know the title.
No, but that's okay. I know you
I wanna get it right. It's called Becoming Dynamic.
Love that.
What made you Becoming Dynamic, the struggles in becoming it's an all women's book. What was the dance I did to become a dynamic woman in the world?
I love that. Well, if I could ask you, would you share with us just briefly, what is it that made you a dynamic woman in the world?
Thank you. It was my exposure, like you just said, to culture. So I think it happened when I was 8. And I, at that time, children can fly alone. So I flew to Haiti with a flight attendant escort and spent my summers, 2.5 years in Haiti, in my dad's hometown with my uncle.
Wow.
And it changed the trajectory of my life. I mastered the language in a month, learned the food, the language, the culture, the beauty in the poverty, right? And the dance, the language, the smells. And then I've traveled to live with a French family in Paris, in the Premier arrondissement, and I've lived in Morocco. So all these cultural things, my family is a big cocktail. We're Haitian and Swedish, Haitian Chinese, Haitian and German, Haitian and Italian, just delicious combinations.
I love it.
And so it's part of my being. It's part of my acceptance. It's part of, like, my clientele is global. I touch all humans. I'm
beautiful planet we have. Humanity really is spectacular.
And it's colorful. It's so colorful and so delicious. So that's what makes me dynamic.
I love that. Absolutely.
My exposure to the world.
It couldn't have been a more perfect and beautiful response. I think that's really true. And it really just exemplifies the butterfly that you are. You have brought the beauty, the color, the shape, the form into our garden and our tribe here. And I just want to thank you for, again, making time in your busy schedule. I know you're always traveling and working with clients, and for just giving us a little perspective, a glimpse into your world, what you do. And we'll make sure that we share contact information with our viewers and our listeners today. And we'll make that also available through the description on this video. So if you would just check back, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure that you check her out, reach out to her, follow her on her channels. And I just want to say, especially to everyone, make sure that you give a little more kindness into the world, because lately things have been a bit challenging, I think, for many cultures, many governments, many continents. We're dealing with a lot of issues, dis-ease and disharmony between religions and races and peoples, and it can be challenging, I know. So that's why I like to bring a bit of positivity and a little bit more light into the world through kindness. So go out there and just spread a little kindness revolution. That's what I say. Do something nice for somebody, even a stranger.
Sprinkle,
right?
Love humanity.
All you got to do is smile. That's all you have to do is smile for somebody. It's that easy. And that's what I love to do. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kevin Lee. I'm your brother.